The Code on Social Security, 2020, a groundbreaking legislation that consolidates 9 existing laws to ensure comprehensive social security for all workers across India. The Code on Social Security, 2020 represents a transformative reform that unifies 9 separate labor laws into a single, coherent framework designed to strengthen worker protections nationwide. Key objectives of this landmark legislation: extending social security benefits to all categories of workers throughout India's diverse economy, pioneering inclusion of gig workers and platform workers within the formal social security system for the first time, providing comprehensive coverage across multiple dimensions including health insurance, provident funds, gratuity, maternity benefits, and workplace injury compensation. This code marks a pivotal shift in India's labor welfare approach by establishing an integrated system that enhances accessibility, simplifies compliance, expands the social safety net to previously unprotected segments of the workforce. In our next section, we'll examine the nationwide application of this code and its phased implementation strategy. Introduction and scope. The Code on Social Security, 2020 extends its jurisdiction across the entirety of India. The central government will implement this comprehensive legislation in phases, with specific provisions becoming effective on dates officially notified. Title and extent. The legislation is officially titled the Code on Social Security, 2020. Its jurisdiction encompasses the entire territory of India. Commencement. The code shall come into force on the dates appointed by the central government through official notification in the Gazette of India. Different provisions of the code may be enforced on different dates, as determined by the central government. Application-specific chapters enumerated in the first schedule shall apply as prescribed therein, while the remaining provisions of the code shall operate concurrently with these specially designated chapters. This slide covers the basic information about the Social Security Code of 2020. The law applies to all of India. The government will roll it out step by step, not all at once. The title part simply tells us the official name of the law and that it covers the whole country. The commencement part explains that the law will start working when the government announces it in their official gazette. Different parts of the law might start on different dates. The application part means that some chapters of the law will apply according to a schedule, while other parts apply normally. Definitions under the code. The code contains 91 comprehensive definitions that clarify essential terms related to workers, employers, employment types, and benefits. These precise definitions ensure consistent interpretation and application of Social Security provisions. Section 2 of the code provides these meticulously crafted definitions, serving as the foundation for understanding legal terminology used throughout the legislation. They facilitate accurate and uniform implementation of Social Security regulations. Basic definitions. The code precisely defines fundamental terms such as employee, employer, establishment, and wages. These critical definitions determine eligibility for benefits and delineate the responsibilities of various stakeholders in the Social Security framework. Worker categories. Recognizing the evolving nature of employment, the code meticulously defines diverse worker categories including unorganized worker, gig worker, platform worker, home-based worker, self-employed worker, and building worker. This ensures comprehensive protection across the modern workforce. Benefits and schemes. To facilitate seamless access to entitlements, the code explicitly defines terms like gratuity, maternity benefit, employees' compensation, and various Social Security schemes. This clarity enables beneficiaries to understand their eligibility criteria and entitlements with precision. Registration of establishments. The code establishes comprehensive guidelines for establishment registration and management. All establishments must complete online registration under this code, with exemptions for those already registered under existing labor legislation. The code further delineates procedures for registration cancellation upon cessation of business operations. Registration process. Every establishment falling under the code's purview must register through online portals or other designated channels within the time frame and according to procedures specified by the central government. Previously registered establishments holding valid registration under any other labor legislation are exempt from re-registration. Their existing registration remains valid and enforceable under this code. Cancellation provisions. Any establishment ceasing operations may initiate proceedings to cancel its registration through proper application procedures. Cancellation framework. The central government has established detailed protocols governing cancellation applications, eligibility criteria for cancellation approval, and procedural requirements throughout the cancellation process. Social Security organizations. The code establishes 4 pivotal bodies to administer comprehensive Social Security schemes across India, ensuring protection for both formal and informal sector workers. Key institutions. The following organizations have been established to implement and oversee India's Social Security framework. Central Board of Trustees oversees the Employees' Provident Fund and related schemes, manages investments, strategically ensures timely disbursement of retirement benefits to millions of workers. Employees' State Insurance Corporation provides crucial medical assistance and financial support during illness, maternity, disability, or work-related fatalities. Extends comprehensive coverage to workers' families. Offers holistic protection to covered employees. National Social Security Board formulates policies and programs specifically for informal sector workers. Recommends tailored schemes for traditionally vulnerable workers. Monitors implementation effectiveness of Social Security programs. Building Workers' Welfare Board, established in each state to implement targeted welfare initiatives for construction workers. Mandate encompasses healthcare access, educational assistance, and pension provisions. Provides additional benefits addressing sector-specific needs. Collaborative framework. These autonomous bodies function collaboratively yet independently to ensure universal Social Security coverage. Life cycle protection. Each organization has distinct responsibilities to protect workers throughout their employment life cycle, from active service through retirement. Who sits on the Central Board of Trustees? The Central Board comprises representatives from government, states, employers, and employees. This balanced composition ensures all stakeholders have input in decisions regarding worker benefits. Leadership. A chairperson and vice chairperson appointed by the central government to provide strategic direction and oversight. Government representatives, up to 5 officials from the central government and 15 state representatives to ensure national policy coordination and regional perspectives. Employer representatives, 10 members representing employer interests, selected by the government in consultation with relevant industry associations and chambers of commerce. Employee representatives, 10 members advocating for worker interests, appointed after consultation with recognized trade unions and labor organizations. Ex officio member. The Central Provident Fund Commissioner serves as a permanent member, bringing administrative expertise and operational insights to the board's deliberations. Employees' State Insurance Corporation. The Employees' State Insurance Corporation is a statutory body with diverse representation from government, employers, employees, and medical professionals. As a perpetual legal entity, it administers comprehensive social insurance benefits through specialized committees. Corporation composition. Leadership. A chairperson and vice chairperson appointed by the central government to provide executive direction. Government representatives. Up to 5 central government officials, 1 representative from each state, and 1 from union territories, ensuring nationwide coordination. Stakeholder representation. 10 employer representatives and 10 employee representatives to balance industry and workforce interests. Healthcare oversight. 2 medical professionals who provide healthcare expertise and guidance. Parliamentary supervision. 3 members of parliament ensuring legislative accountability. Executive management. The Director General serves as an ex officio member and chief executive. Legal status and authority. The corporation functions as a perpetual legal entity with an official seal. It has full powers to enter into contracts and legal proceedings. It administers the employee state insurance scheme, providing comprehensive medical care and financial support during sickness, maternity, and work-related injuries. Organizational structure for efficient administration. The corporation establishes specialized committees. A standing committee that handles executive functions and day-to-day administration. A medical benefit committee dedicated to optimizing healthcare delivery and medical services. National Social Security Board. A central government body chaired by the Union Minister for Labor that recommends welfare schemes for unorganized workers and monitors Social Security implementation through comprehensive stakeholder representation at national and state levels. Board composition. Chairperson, Union Minister for Labor and Employment. Vice Chairperson, Secretary of Ministry of Labor and Employment. Members, 40 members nominated by the central government representing diverse stakeholders. Representation includes unorganized sector workers, employers, civil society organizations, parliament, and central and state governments, ensuring balanced and inclusive representation across all sectors. Key functions and responsibilities. Recommends and formulates targeted welfare schemes for various segments of unorganized workers, provides expert guidance to the central Government on Social Security Administration monitors implementation, effectiveness, and outcomes of social welfare schemes, ensures proper documentation, transparency, and record keeping functions, oversees appropriate allocation and utilization of funds from designated sources. State-level implementation framework. Each state government establishes a state unorganized workers' Social Security Board that mirrors the national structure. State boards maintain parallel composition to the national board. State boards execute complementary functions to the national board. This structure ensures uniform implementation of welfare schemes nationwide. The system delivers consistent benefit delivery throughout the country. The National Social Security Board serves as the cornerstone for protecting informal sector workers. The board is led by the labor minister with representation from 40 diverse stakeholders. It designs comprehensive welfare schemes for workers outside formal employment structures. Through rigorous monitoring mechanisms, the board ensures effective scheme implementation. It maintains responsible fund management practices. The parallel state-level boards create a cohesive nationwide framework. This structure delivers standardized benefits to unorganized workers across all regions. Building Workers' Welfare Board, a state-appointed governing body with balanced stakeholder representation that administers comprehensive welfare benefits including financial protection, healthcare support, and skills development for construction workers through structured governance and implementation. Board composition and structure. Chairperson, appointed by the state government. Central government representation, 1 nominated official. Additional members, up to 15 individuals appointed by the state government. Equal representation maintained between state government officials, employers, and building workers. This tripartite structure ensures the state government establishes a balanced board where government representatives, construction industry employers, and workers have equal voice in decision-making processes. Welfare benefits and services. Financial protection, death and disability compensation, pension schemes, and group insurance coverage. Healthcare support, medical expense reimbursement and comprehensive maternity benefits. Development assistance, educational scholarships and targeted skill development programs. Practical support, transit accommodation and customized welfare measures for building workers' unique needs. The board safeguards construction workers by providing accident and disability insurance, covering healthcare expenses, supporting children's education, and facilitating temporary housing during work-related relocations. Administrative leadership. Chief Executive Secretary appointed by the board to oversee daily operations. Support team, qualified officers and staff recruited to ensure efficient service delivery. Governance, structured management framework for effective implementation of welfare initiatives. A dedicated administrative team manages day-to-day operations, ensuring eligible workers receive their entitled benefits and monitoring program effectiveness through systematic implementation. Disqualification and removal of members. Members face disqualification based on personal conduct, financial status, or political positions. The appropriate government maintains authority to remove members under specific conditions, while ensuring procedural fairness through defense opportunities and proper resignation protocols. Ineligibility criteria. Individuals become disqualified from membership in a Social Security organization if declared insolvent, diagnosed with unsound mind, or convicted of an offense involving moral turpitude. Simply put, members must maintain financial stability, mental competence, and ethical conduct. 1. Employer and political disqualifications. Membership is forfeited if an employer defaults on required payments. Similarly, members of parliament or state legislature who cease to hold their elected position, or who become ministers or speakers, lose their eligibility to serve on the organization. In other words, employers must fulfill their financial obligations, and certain political transitions automatically end membership. 2. Government authority for removal. The appropriate government may remove any member who becomes disqualified under established criteria, has been absent without leave for 3 or more consecutive meetings, or has misused their position in a manner detrimental to public interest. This means the government can remove members who violate eligibility requirements, consistently miss meetings, or abuse their authority. 3. Right to present defense. Prior to removal for unauthorized absences or position misuse, members must receive a reasonable opportunity to present their case explaining why the removal order should not proceed. This ensures fair treatment by guaranteeing members can defend themselves before being removed. 4. Voluntary resignation protocol. Any member wishing to resign must submit written notice to the appropriate government. The position becomes officially vacant only upon formal acceptance of the resignation. This creates a clear process. Written resignation followed by official acknowledgement makes the departure final. 5 key points. In simple terms, members can't serve if they're bankrupt, mentally unfit, or have committed serious crimes. Employers must stay current on required payments to maintain membership. Political members who lose their elected position or take on certain leadership roles, like becoming ministers, automatically lose their membership. The government can remove members who become ineligible, miss 3 consecutive meetings without permission, or misuse their position but must give them a chance to explain their side first. Members can resign voluntarily by submitting a written notice, which becomes official when accepted by the government. Procedure for transaction of business. Social Security organizations operate according to government-mandated protocols for meetings, decision authentication, and member compensation, with proceedings remaining valid despite vacancies or procedural irregularities. Meeting frequency and protocol. Each Social Security organization or committee must convene at specifically prescribed intervals and follow procedural guidelines established by the central government for conducting official business. In plain language, these bodies must meet regularly and adhere to government-established procedures for their official operations. Certification of decisions. All orders and decisions must be authenticated by the designated officer, while all other official instruments require authentication by an appropriately authorized officer. This ensures accountability by requiring that proper authorities verify all decisions. Major determinations need the principal officer's signature, while standard documents may be authenticated by other authorized personnel. Legitimacy of proceedings. No act or proceeding shall be invalidated or questioned merely on the grounds of any vacancy or defect in the constitution of the organization or committee. This provision safeguards operational continuity by ensuring that decisions remain legally binding, even if there are vacancies or technical irregularities in the organization's structure. Compensation and reimbursements. Members of Social Security organizations or committees are entitled to receive fees and allowances as prescribed by the central government for their service. This ensures that members receive appropriate compensation for their contributions, with payment structures determined by central government regulations. Top leaders of Social Security organizations. Top officials of Social Security organizations serve in full-time capacities with exclusive dedication to their official responsibilities. Any engagement in external professional activities requires explicit governmental authorization. Central Provident Fund Commissioner serves as Chief Executive Officer of the Central Board. Leads the Employees Provident Fund organization. Operates under the Central Board strategic guidance and supervision. Implements established policies and directives with authority and accountability. Director General of the corporation holds a distinguished full-time position, carries exclusive professional commitment to the corporation's mission and objectives, requires formal central government approval for any professional engagements beyond official duties, ensures undivided attention to organizational priorities. Full-time commitment requirement. Both positions demand complete professional dedication. This exclusive commitment safeguards organizational integrity, ensures leadership focus, remains on core responsibilities. Central government permission serves as the only mechanism through which these officials may undertake supplementary professional activities. Supersession of Social Security organizations. A legal mechanism allowing governments to temporarily take over Social Security organizations that are underperforming, exceeding authority, or abusing powers, subject to procedural safeguards and legislative oversight. Legal framework for organizational supersession. Grounds for supersession. The appropriate government may supersede a Social Security organization through official notification if it determines that the organization is unable to perform its functions, has consistently delayed fulfilling its duties, or has exceeded or abused its powers. Procedural safeguards. Prior to issuing a supersession notification, the appropriate government must provide the organization with an opportunity to present its case explaining why supersession should not occur. Interim administration. Following supersession and until the organization is reconstituted, the appropriate government will establish alternative arrangements to administer the relevant provisions of the code. Parliamentary oversight. Within 3 months of taking action, the appropriate government must submit a comprehensive report to Parliament or the state legislature, detailing the circumstances that necessitated supersession and the specific actions taken. This mechanism ensures accountability while protecting public interests. allowing for temporary intervention when a social security organization fails to fulfill its mandate effectively or appropriately. State boards and regional boards: a structured administrative framework for implementing social security at state and regional levels, established by the central government with clear governance guidelines and delegated authority. Constitution of State Boards. Establishment authority. The central government establishes state boards of trustees, after consulting with the respective state government, to implement social security provisions effectively. Jurisdictional powers. These state boards exercise specific statutory powers and perform functions designated to them under the Code. Administrative structure and procedures. Governance framework. The central government provides comprehensive guidelines on the constitution, composition and operational structure of state boards. Membership regulations. Clear terms for appointment, tenure, qualifications, and responsibilities of members are defined by the central government. Operational protocol. Transparent procedures for meetings, including quorum requirements, voting mechanisms, and documentation practices ensure accountability and efficiency.
Formation of regional boards. Decentralized implementation. The corporation appoints regional boards and local committees in strategic geographical areas to ensure effective local implementation. Delegated authority. These regional boards perform specific functions and exercise powers as determined by regulations, creating an effective administrative hierarchy. This framework creates a multi-level governance system for Social Security. State boards work under central government guidelines while regional boards ensure implementation reaches local areas effectively. This structure balances centralized oversight with regional responsiveness to meet diverse Social Security needs across different geographical areas. The central government is empowered to expand the responsibilities of Social Security organizations by assigning additional functions, providing necessary authority, and fully funding all associated expenses. Additional functions of Social Security organizations. Assignment and authority. Assignment of additional functions. The central government may entrust Social Security organizations with supplementary responsibilities, including the administration of various Social Security schemes and related legislation. Powers for additional functions. When assigning these expanded duties, the central government clearly delineates the specific powers granted to Social Security organizations to effectively execute these responsibilities. Implementation guidelines. Terms and conditions. To ensure clarity and accountability, the central government establishes comprehensive terms and conditions that govern how Social Security organizations fulfill their additional mandates. Expenditure coverage. All operational costs incurred in performing these additional functions are fully funded by the central government, including expenses for recruiting and maintaining the necessary workforce to deliver these services effectively. Employees Provident Fund. A retirement benefit scheme jointly funded by employers and employees at 10-12% of wages, established by the central government and administered by the central board to provide financial security for employees. Overview. The Employees Provident Fund is a comprehensive retirement benefit scheme that requires both employers and employees to contribute a designated percentage of the employee's monthly wages. This fund serves as a financial safety net, providing economic security to employees upon retirement or during specific life contingencies as defined in the statutory scheme. Establishment of fund. The central government is mandated to establish and maintain a provident fund where contributions from both employers and employees are systematically deposited and accumulated over time. This centralized management ensures proper oversight and growth of retirement savings for all enrolled employees. Contribution rates. Employers contribute 10% of wages, increased to 12% for certain specified establishments and industries, with employees making an equal matching contribution from their monthly earnings. These regular contributions create a substantial retirement corpus through the power of compound growth over an employee's working career. Fund administration. The Provident Fund is legally vested in and professionally administered by the Central Board, which ensures proper management and investment of the accumulated funds. The Central Board's fiduciary responsibility includes strategic investment of these funds to generate optimal returns while maintaining security for all subscribers. Schemes under Employees Provident Fund. The EPF operates through three complementary schemes: The Provident Fund scheme facilitates retirement savings. The pension scheme delivers ongoing financial support through various pension benefits, and the insurance scheme provides critical life coverage. The central government retains authority to establish new schemes or modify existing ones as economic and social needs evolve. Main schemes: Provident Fund scheme established by the central government to facilitate systematic retirement savings through regular employer-employee contributions. Fosters financial security through structured long-term savings and strategic investments. Pension scheme delivers comprehensive support through multiple pension categories including retirement, disability, widowers, children's, orphans, and nominee pensions. Insurance scheme offers essential life insurance coverage to all enrolled employees. Secures families' financial stability by providing a lump sum benefits to designated nominees upon the employee's death. Additional powers of central government authority to formulate and implement additional social security schemes targeting self-employed individuals and other specialized workforce segments. Discretion to modify existing schemes through amendments, updates to terms and conditions, or benefit adjustments with provisions for both prospective and retrospective application. Funds under Employees Provident Fund Overview. The EPF manages 3 distinct funds for Provident, pension, and insurance, for each designed to provide financial security through different stages of life and circumstances, all administered under strict governance by the central board. Types of funds: Provident Fund, a retirement savings vehicle built through regular contributions from both employers and employees. This fund accumulates throughout one's working years to create a substantial financial resource accessible upon retirement. Pension Fund, formed by directing a portion of employer contributions from the Provident Fund. This fund supports various pension benefits including retirement income, disability support, and survivor benefits for family members. Insurance Fund, also known as the Deposit-Linked Insurance Fund. This provides essential life insurance coverage to ensure families receive financial support in the unfortunate event of an employee's death during service. Fund management. All 3 funds are legally entrusted to the central board, which manages them according to specific investment guidelines and governance principles established for each scheme, ensuring both security and appropriate growth of workers' savings. Key points for explanation: the EPF system consists of 3 complementary funds designed to protect workers' financial well-being. The Provident Fund works like a dedicated savings account that grows throughout your career, jointly funded by you and your employer. The Pension Fund provides regular income during retirement or disability, with provisions for supporting dependents if needed. The Insurance Fund offers financial protection for your family, functioning as a safety net if you pass away during your employment period. A specialized central board oversees all funds, following strict regulations to safeguard and responsibly grow your contributions over time. Recovery of contributions from contractors. The EPF system establishes clear rules for recovering contributions. Employers can recover all costs from contractors, while contractors may only recover employee portions through authorized deductions and must maintain comprehensive employee records. Employers' recovery provisions. Employers are legally entitled to recover the complete amount paid toward contractor employees, including both employer and employee contributions plus all administrative charges. Contractors' rights and restrictions. Contractors may only recover the employee's portion of contributions through authorized wage deductions in accordance with EPF regulations. Contractors are explicitly forbidden from recovering the employer's contribution or administrative charges from employees, whether through wage deductions or any other means. Documentation requirements. Contractors must maintain comprehensive and accurate registers of all employees under their management and submit these records to the principal employer before receiving final payment for contractual services. When explaining this slide, remember these key points in simple terms. Employers can recover all contribution costs they paid for contractor employees. Contractors can only recover the employee portion through proper, authorized wage deductions. Contractors are strictly prohibited from making employees pay the employer's share of contributions. Detailed employee records must be maintained by contractors and provided before receiving payment. These regulations ensure fair distribution of financial responsibilities while protecting workers from unauthorized deductions. Recognition under Income Tax Act. The Provident Fund holds privileged status under income tax laws. providing significant tax advantages while ensuring EPF provisions supersede any conflicting tax regulations. Legal status as recognized fund. Under the Income Tax Act, 1961, the Provident Fund is officially designated as a recognized provident fund as defined in Clause 38 of Section 2 of that Act. In simple words, the government formally acknowledges the Provident Fund as a specialized savings instrument with distinct tax treatment. Tax benefits for contributors. This recognition confers substantial tax advantages to both employers and employees on their Provident Fund contributions, establishing it as an optimal tax-efficient retirement savings mechanism. In simple words, companies and workers receive favorable tax treatment on their fund contributions, enhancing retirement savings potential. Precedents of EPF provisions. Any Provident Fund scheme provision that contradicts the Income Tax Act remains fully enforceable, as EPF regulations take priority over any conflicting Income Tax Act stipulations. In simple words, when Provident Fund regulations conflict with tax laws, the Provident Fund regulations always prevail. Priority of payment of contributions. EPF contributions receive statutory precedence over other financial obligations, secure preferential treatment during corporate insolvency proceedings, and safeguard employees' retirement savings regardless of their employer's financial condition. First charge on assets. EPF contributions constitute a primary claim on the employer's assets, taking precedence over virtually all other liabilities, thereby ensuring maximum protection for these retirement funds. Legal priority framework. During corporate insolvency proceedings, EPF dues are classified as priority payments under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, 2016, placing them ahead of most unsecured creditors in the payment hierarchy. Safeguarding retirement security. This legal protection mechanism ensures the preservation of employees' hard-earned retirement savings even when their employer faces severe financial distress or undergoes liquidation proceedings. Expedited recovery mechanism. The preferential status accorded to EPF contributions facilitates swift recovery during corporate restructuring or dissolution, thereby minimizing disruption to employees' long-term financial planning and retirement security. Exemptions from employees' provident fund. Certain establishments and employees are exempt from mandatory EPF compliance when alternative retirement schemes exist or specific governmental exemptions are granted. These exemptions create necessary flexibility within the system while ensuring adequate retirement security. Cooperative society exemptions. Cooperative societies with fewer than 50 workers that operate without power machinery are exempt from EPF requirements. Government establishment exemptions. Government establishments that already provide comparable retirement benefits to employees are not required to implement additional EPF coverage. Alternative statutory exemptions. Establishments covered under other statutes offering equivalent or superior retirement benefits qualify for exemption from EPF provisions. Employee-specific exemptions. Employees already receiving Provident Fund benefits under different statutory provisions are not required to contribute to multiple schemes. Financial condition exemptions. The central government may grant temporary exemptions to certain categories of establishments based on their financial circumstances. Self-managed fund exemptions. Employers with 100 or more employees may establish and manage their own Provident Fund accounts provided they comply with the regulatory framework outlined in the Provident Fund scheme. Transfer of Provident Fund accounts. When changing employment, you can consolidate your Provident Fund accounts to maximize your retirement benefits and ensure continuity of your Social Security coverage. Your Provident Fund benefits can seamlessly transition with you throughout your career. Here's what you should understand. Eligibility for transfer. You're entitled to transfer your Provident Fund when transitioning between employers, regardless of whether both organizations fall under the code or only your previous employer was covered. Transfer procedure. Follow the standardized process outlined in the Provident Fund scheme. This requires submitting specific forms and supporting documentation to initiate the transfer. Preservation of benefits. By transferring your account, you safeguard your accumulated retirement savings and maintain continuity of service, which can impact your overall benefits calculation. Advantages of consolidation. Consolidating your funds into your current employer's scheme prevents fragmentation of your retirement corpus. simplifies tracking, and may result in better interest accumulation compared to maintaining multiple dormant accounts. Appeals to tribunal. If you disagree with assessments of amounts due or penalties imposed, you have the right to appeal to the tribunal. The process requires specific documentation and fees. Employers must deposit 25% of the disputed amount before their appeal can proceed. The tribunal endeavors to resolve all cases within a 1-year time frame. Grounds for appeal. You may file an appeal with the tribunal if you dispute determinations regarding contribution amounts under Section 125 or penalties imposed under Section 128 in relation to Chapter 3 provisions. Appeal procedure. Submit your appeal using the prescribed form within the stipulated time frame, accompanied by the requisite fees as specified in the regulations. Mandatory deposit for employers. Employers challenging assessment orders must first deposit 25% of the assessed amount with a Social Security organization as a prerequisite for appeal consideration. Resolution time frame. The tribunal strives to adjudicate appeals within 1 year from the date of filing to ensure timely resolution of disputes. Employees State Insurance Corporation officers. The ESIC leadership comprises central government appointed principal officers who serve 5-year terms, with comprehensive support staff. All positions operate under clearly defined regulations aligned with central government standards. Principal officers. The central government appoints 2 key executives, for a director general and a financial commissioner, who serve as the corporation's principal officers and provide strategic leadership. Term and compensation. Principal officers serve for a maximum of 5 years as specified in their appointment orders. Their salaries, allowances, powers, and responsibilities are clearly prescribed by the central government through established regulatory frameworks. Organizational structure. The corporation maintains a robust workforce of officers and staff members essential for executing its operations efficiently and fulfilling its statutory obligations to stakeholders. Service regulations. All aspects of employment, including recruitment methods, compensation structures, disciplinary procedures, and service conditions, follow regulations that align with central government guidelines. For senior positions equivalent to Group A and Group B posts, appointment decisions require mandatory consultation with the Union Public Service Commission. Employees State Insurance Fund. The EC fund comprises contributions, user charges, grants, and donations. The corporation maintains exclusive management authority over this fund, which is deposited in government-approved banks and accessible only to designated officers. Fund constitution. The fund aggregates all contributions, user charges, and any revenue received on behalf of the corporation. The corporation retains exclusive rights to hold and administer these financial resources. Additional sources of funding. The corporation is authorized to accept supplementary financial support, including grants, donations, corporate social responsibility (CSR) allocations from companies, and monetary gifts from governmental entities, local authorities, or private individuals. Fund management and investment. All financial resources are maintained in government-approved banking institutions and invested according to guidelines established by the central governments to ensure security and facilitate growth. Account Operation Authority. Access to fund operations is restricted to officers specifically designated by the Standing Committee and formally approved by the corporation, thereby ensuring proper financial governance and accountability. Purposes of Employees State Insurance Fund. The EC fund serves 4 critical functions: delivering comprehensive healthcare services, sustaining operational infrastructure, ensuring regulatory compliance, facilitating rehabilitation programs for injured workers, healthcare and treatment, financing comprehensive medical care for insured workers and their families through a network of hospitals, dispensaries, and specialized treatment facilities to ensure optimal health outcomes. Administrative infrastructure, supporting the operational framework through staff compensation, facility maintenance, and essential administrative functions necessary for the corporation's efficient performance. Legal and regulatory compliance, allocating resources for insurance courts, addressing legal proceedings, and facilitating timely settlement of legitimate claims in accordance with statutory requirements. Rehabilitation and welfare initiatives, establishing and funding comprehensive programs aimed at enhancing the well-being of insured workers, with particular emphasis on rehabilitation services for those with work related injuries or disabilities to facilitate their return to productive employment. Property and investments of EC Corporation. The EC Corporation possesses extensive financial powers including property acquisition, hospital development, investment management, loan procurement, and establishment of staff welfare funds for all subject to government approval. Property acquisition and management. The corporation has the authority to acquire, own, dispose of, and transfer property as necessary. This enables the organization to secure the real estate and physical assets essential for its operational requirements. Facility establishment. The corporation is empowered to construct, operate, and maintain healthcare facilities including hospitals and dispensaries. These facilities serve as the primary care centers where insured workers and their dependents receive medical treatment. Investment authority. The corporation can strategically invest surplus funds not immediately required for operations. This financial management approach generates additional revenue through interest and returns, enhancing the organization's fiscal sustainability. Loan and financing powers. With governmental sanction, the corporation may secure loans when capital requirements exceed available resources. This financing capability facilitates implementation of large-scale initiatives and capital-intensive projects without depleting existing reserves. Benefit funds. The corporation is authorized to establish dedicated funds for employee welfare, including retirement provisions and emergency assistance programs. These financial safeguards ensure the well-being of corporation staff who administer the broader insurance scheme. Insurance of employees. Employees in covered establishments must be enrolled in the insurance scheme. This entitles them to comprehensive benefits including medical care, sickness benefits, maternity support, and disability assistance as stipulated in Chapter 4 provisions. Mandatory enrollment. Every employee in an establishment covered under Chapter 4 must be insured as prescribed by law. Registration can be completed either through digital platforms or physical documentation. Definition of insured person. An insured person refers to any employee who is currently insured or was previously insured. This encompasses individuals for whom contributions have been or are being made, qualifying them for benefits under Chapter 4. Benefit entitlements. This insurance scheme provides employees with extensive protections including healthcare services, outpatient and inpatient care, sickness benefits, wage compensation during illness, maternity support, prenatal, delivery, and postnatal care, plus allowances, disability benefits, assistance for temporary or permanent disability, contributions to employees' state insurance. EC contributions combine employer and employee payments at government-mandated rates, with employers bearing responsibility for submitting both portions according to prescribed timelines while maintaining cost-effective administration. Key components of the EC contribution framework. Contribution structure. EC contributions comprise two distinct parts: the employer's contribution and the employee's contribution, both payable to the corporation at rates established by the central government. Payment timeline. Contributions must be submitted for each wage period as specified in the regulations, typically due by the final day of the corresponding wage period. Employer's responsibility. Employers must submit both their contribution and the employee's portion, with legal authority to deduct the employee's share from their wages. Administrative efficiency. The corporation must keep administrative expenses below the ceiling prescribed by the central government to maximize benefit delivery to insured workers. EC contributions explained. Both employers and employees contribute to the EC system. The government establishes the contribution rates for each party. Employers are responsible for collecting and remitting the complete contribution, combining their portion and the employee's portion. They forward the total amount to the EC corporation. These payments must align with each pay cycle. The law authorizes employers to deduct the employee's contribution directly from their wages. The EC corporation is legally required to operate efficiently, keeping administrative costs within government-mandated limits. This ensures the majority of funds directly support worker benefits rather than operational expenses. This funding mechanism is crucial as it finances all the insurance benefits we explored in our previous discussion. Payment of EC contributions by employers. Employers hold comprehensive responsibility for EC contributions while adhering to strict guidelines regarding employee portion recovery and maintaining a clear separation of financial obligations. full contribution responsibility. Employers must remit both employer and employee contributions for all workers, including those engaged directly or through intermediary contractors. Recovery of employee contributions. Employers may recover the employee's share through authorized wage deductions, strictly limited to the applicable contribution period and never exceeding the statutory employee portion. Prohibition on transferring employer burden. Employers and contractors are expressly prohibited from transferring their contribution obligation to employees through wage deductions or any alternative mechanisms. Financial responsibility for remittance. All administrative expenses and transaction costs associated with contribution remittance to the corporation remain the exclusive responsibility of the employer. Hello everyone. Let me clarify how ESI contribution management works from the employer's perspective.
Employers bear the complete responsibility for ensuring ESI contributions reach the corporation. This includes both their portion and the employee's share for all workers on their payroll, regardless of employment arrangement. While the law permits employers to recover the employee's contribution through salary deductions, these deductions must adhere to strict parameters. They must correspond precisely to the current contribution period and cannot exceed the employee's statutory obligation. The legislation explicitly safeguards employees from bearing any portion of the employer's contribution burden. This separation of financial responsibilities is fundamental to the ESI framework. Additionally, the employer must absorb all costs associated with the administrative process of remitting these contributions, ensuring that employees receive their full entitled benefits without hidden deductions. Does anyone have questions about these employer obligations regarding ESI contributions? Benefits under employees' state insurance. The ESI scheme delivers a robust Social Security framework through 3 essential benefit categories: comprehensive health coverage for illness and medical needs, support during significant life events, and financial protection for workplace injuries and dependent family members. Health-related benefits. Sickness benefit, timely financial assistance provided to insured persons during periods of certified illness, ensuring income stability while they recover. Medical benefit, full-spectrum healthcare services, including treatments, medications, and specialist consultations for both insured persons and their eligible family members. Life event benefits. Maternity benefit, vital financial support for insured women during pregnancy, childbirth, miscarriage, or pregnancy-related medical complications, protecting both maternal and infant health. Funeral expenses, compassionate financial assistance provided to the eldest surviving family member or the person who manages funeral arrangements, helping families during their time of grief. Disability and support benefits. Disablement benefit, consistent financial support for insured persons experiencing temporary or permanent disability resulting from workplace injuries or occupational diseases, helping maintain their quality of life. Dependents benefit, critical financial assistance to eligible family members of an insured person who succumbs to a work-related injury or illness, ensuring families are not left financially vulnerable. Good day everyone. Let me walk you through the ESI benefits in clear terms. Think of ESI as a protective shield with 3 powerful layers of support. When illness strikes, ESI provides crucial income replacement while you recover and covers your medical expenses completely. This protection extends to your family's healthcare needs as well. During life's milestone moments, ESI stands with you, supporting women throughout their maternity journey and providing dignity through funeral assistance when families face loss. If workplace injuries occur, ESI delivers dependable financial support to affected workers. Most importantly, if a worker tragically loses their life due to workplace causes, their family receives ongoing financial security. This comprehensive system ensures that workers and their families never face life's challenges alone. Promotion of health and rehabilitation. The ESI Corporation implements comprehensive health enhancement programs and rehabilitation services that extend beyond statutory benefits. These initiatives are financed through the ESI Fund in accordance with established governmental guidelines. Health improvement initiatives. The corporation establishes proactive programs designed to enhance both physical and mental well-being of insured individuals, supplementing mandatory medical benefits. These initiatives encompass preventive health screenings, holistic wellness programs, and specialized medical interventions tailored to address occupation-specific health concerns. Rehabilitation services. Comprehensive rehabilitation programs support workers who have suffered occupational injuries or disabilities, providing therapeutic interventions, vocational training, and employment assistance. These services are strategically designed to facilitate optimal recovery, restore functional capacity, and ensure successful reintegration into the workforce. expenditure framework. The corporation is authorized to allocate resources from the ESI fund for these supplementary programs, subject to compliance with regulatory parameters established by the central government. All expenditures must adhere to principles of transparency, fiscal responsibility, and demonstrable benefit to the insured population. Presumption regarding accidents. The law establishes favorable presumptions for employees regarding work-related accidents, covering incidents during employment, emergency responses, commuting, and employer-provided transportation. Legal presumption of work connection. Under Chapter 4, accidents occurring during employment are legally presumed to arise from that employment unless compelling evidence demonstrates otherwise. This critical presumption benefits employees by shifting the burden of proof away from them, eliminating the need to establish a direct causal link between their work duties and the accident. Emergency response coverage. Accidents occurring on or near workplace premises while responding to emergencies are automatically considered work-related for benefit eligibility purposes. Commuting accident coverage. Accidents that occur while traveling between an employee's residence and workplace are classified as work-related incidents, ensuring comprehensive protection throughout the employment journey. Employer-provided transportation coverage. Accidents sustained while traveling as a passenger in transportation provided or arranged by the employer are definitively classified as arising from employment. The legal framework provides robust protection for workers when accidents occur. By presuming work-relatedness in accidents during employment, unless proven otherwise, the law significantly reduces the burden on injured workers. This protection extends beyond the workplace itself to include emergency responses, daily commutes, and employer-arranged transportation. These presumptions fundamentally strengthen the social safety net, ensuring workers can access benefits without facing undue procedural obstacles following an accident. Accidents during rule violations. Employees remain eligible for compensation benefits when accidents occur during workplace rule violations, provided they were performing job-related functions that serve the employer's business interests. Coverage. Despite rule violations, an accident is still classified as work-related even when it occurs during an employee's violation of statutory regulations or company policies. Dual eligibility criteria. To qualify for coverage, two conditions must be satisfied. The incident would qualify as work-related absent the rule violation, and the employee was engaged in activities furthering the employer's business interests. Legislative intent. This provision ensures that compensation benefits are not denied solely due to technical rule violations when employees are otherwise fulfilling their substantive job responsibilities. Balanced approach. The legislation strikes a pragmatic balance between maintaining workplace discipline and safeguarding employees who sustain injuries while performing their essential functions, despite procedural or regulatory infractions. Occupational diseases. Diseases listed in the third schedule are automatically recognized as work injuries. Different occupational categories have specific employment duration requirements. The burden of proof falls on the employer to demonstrate a disease isn't work-related. For conditions not on the schedule, workers must establish that their illness resulted directly from a workplace incident. Definition and classification. When a worker develops a disease listed in the third schedule that corresponds to their occupation, it is legally classified as a work injury arising out of and in the course of employment. Employment duration requirements. Part A diseases. No minimum employment period required. Part B diseases. Minimum continuous service of 6 months necessary. Part C diseases. Employment duration as specifically prescribed by the Insurance Corporation. Legal presumption. The law establishes a rebuttable presumption that scheduled diseases constitute work injuries. This shifts the burden of proof to the employer or insurance provider to establish that the condition was not occupationally induced. Non-scheduled conditions. For diseases absent from the third schedule, compensation is payable only when the worker can demonstrate that the condition was directly attributable to a specific, identifiable workplace incident. Medical boards for disablement assessment. Medical boards provide expert evaluation of permanent disabilities, determine the impact on earning capacity, and establish assessment duration. All potential disability cases must be referred to these boards, with provisions for reviews based on new evidence and appeal rights for all parties involved. Assessment authority and scope. Medical boards have authoritative jurisdiction over matters concerning permanent disablement, loss of earning capacity assessment, and determination of assessment periods. These boards operate under established regulatory frameworks. Mandatory referral requirements. All potential permanent disablement cases must undergo medical board evaluation. Temporary assessments require re-examination before expiration to ensure appropriate continuity of care and benefit provision. Grounds for assessment review. Medical board determinations may be reviewed upon discovery of new evidence or significant deterioration of the injury beyond the initial prognosis. Such reviews are subject to prescribed timeframes to facilitate prompt resolution. Appeal rights and procedures. Both injured employees and the insurance provider retain the right to contest medical board decisions. Appeals may be directed to a specialized medical appellate panel or submitted directly to the employee's insurance court for definitive adjudication. Dependents benefit when an insured worker dies due to a work-related injury. Financial compensation is provided to their surviving family members. This benefit is distributed among dependents according to established priority guidelines. Eligibility criteria: in the event an insured worker suffers a fatal work-related injury, their dependents become eligible for compensation. The legislation specifies the compensation amount and duration of payments for eligible family members. Primary beneficiaries: surviving spouse of the deceased worker, minor children, or legally adopted minor children, unmarried daughters, biological, or legally adopted. Widowed mother of the deceased worker. Secondary beneficiaries: in the absence of primary beneficiaries, the following relatives may qualify for benefits: parents of the deceased worker, minor siblings of the deceased worker, other relatives as specified under applicable regulations. Benefit review conditions: benefit payments may be subject to review under the following circumstances: discovery of relevant new information, birth of a posthumous child, death or marriage of an existing beneficiary, significant change in a beneficiary's health condition. Medical benefit: comprehensive healthcare coverage for insured workers and their families, including outpatient services and hospitalization. Benefits continue even after contribution period ends, with the system also supporting medical education. Eligibility: all insured workers and their family members qualify for medical treatment when needed, subject to fulfilling basic eligibility conditions. Range of services: benefits encompass outpatient care at dispensaries, home visits by medical professionals, and inpatient treatment at designated hospitals. Extended coverage: medical care continues for a specified period even after contributions cease. Retired workers: those who retire early, and individuals with permanent disabilities receive extended coverage periods. Medical education: the corporation operates medical education institutions to train healthcare professionals. Graduates typically serve in corporation hospitals for a stipulated period, ensuring quality care within the system. How medical treatment is provided: medical care for insured persons is delivered through a comprehensive network of state governments, ESI hospitals, and strategic partnerships, with various cost-sharing mechanisms in place. State government provision: state governments are responsible for delivering medical care to insured persons and their families. They have the authority to establish arrangements with local medical practitioners to enhance service delivery. Cost-sharing mechanism: when a state's expenditure on sickness benefits exceeds the national average, the additional financial burden is distributed proportionally between the corporation and the respective state government. Corporation-operated facilities: the corporation has the mandate to establish and operate its own hospitals and dispensaries dedicated to serving insured persons and their families. Strategic partnerships: the corporation can form collaborative arrangements with local authorities, private entities, or individuals to provide medical care through mutually beneficial cost-sharing agreements. Outsourced management: for operational efficiency, the corporation may contract external organizations to manage and administer ESI hospitals while maintaining oversight of service quality. General provisions for benefits: benefits are governed by specific payment conditions and cannot be received simultaneously. To maintain eligibility, recipients must adhere to prescribed medical protocols and treatment instructions. Payment restrictions: lump sum limitations. Disablement benefits can only be converted to lump sum payments under specific circumstances outlined in the regulations. Benefit exclusion periods: insured persons cannot claim sickness or temporary disablement benefits during days when they are working, using paid leave, or participating in strike action. Beneficiary obligations: treatment compliance. Beneficiaries must continue prescribed medical treatment, follow healthcare provider instructions, avoid activities that may impede recovery, and attend all required medical examinations. Benefit exclusivity: insured persons eligible for multiple benefits, such as sickness and maternity benefits, must select one option, as simultaneous receipt of multiple benefits is prohibited. This slide outlines the essential rules governing benefit payments. There are two key areas to understand. First, payment restrictions define when and how benefits can be disbursed. Disability benefits generally cannot be paid as lump sums except in specific regulated circumstances. Additionally, no sickness benefits are payable for periods when the insured person is working, on paid leave, or striking. Second, beneficiaries have clear responsibilities. They must follow all medical directions, participate in prescribed treatments, avoid recovery-delaying activities, and attend required examinations. Importantly, even when eligible for multiple benefit types, beneficiaries must choose just one, as concurrent benefit receipt is not permitted. Corporations' rights for employer defaults when employers fail to meet their statutory obligations. The corporation ensures workers are not penalized. Full benefits are provided to affected employees, with costs subsequently recovered from defaulting employers through a fair process. Employer non-compliance scenarios. The corporation intervenes when employers fail to properly register employees for insurance, delay registration until after workplace accidents occur, or neglect mandatory contribution payments while resulting in potential benefit reductions. Remedial Benefit Authority. To protect workers, the corporation is authorized to provide affected employees with the complete benefits they would have received had their employer fulfilled all statutory obligations. Cost recovery process. After granting the employer an opportunity to present their case, the corporation may recover the capitalized value of all benefits provided, calculated according to established regulatory methods. Financial adjustment provisions. The final recovery amount is adjusted to account for any contributions previously paid by the employer, along with applicable interest charges and penalties for non-compliance. This provision protects workers when employers don't follow insurance requirements. If an employer fails to properly insure their workforce or defaults on required payments, the corporation steps in to ensure employees still receive their entitled benefits. After providing these benefits, we initiate a fair process with the employer, allowing them to explain their circumstances before determining recovery amounts. The final calculation takes into account any partial payments already made, while potentially adding interest charges or penalties for non-compliance with regulations. When employers don't follow the rules, we can still help their workers. This slide explains how we handle these situations. The first point covers three main problems: employers not insuring workers properly, waiting until after accidents to register them, or not paying what they should. The second point explains that we can't give workers their full benefits, even when their employer hasn't followed the rules. The third point means we can't get the money back from employers after giving them a chance to explain themselves. The last point explains that we calculate the final amount by considering any payments they've already made plus any extra charges for being late or breaking the rules. Liability for excessive sickness overview. Employers or property owners may be held financially responsible when negligence or violations of health regulations result in abnormally high illness rates among insured persons, as determined through an official investigation process. Employer liability conditions. When an excessive number of insured persons become ill due to unsanitary workplace conditions, violations of health regulations, or negligence attributable to an employer or property owner. Recovery mechanism. The corporation can recover additional expenditures on sickness benefits from the responsible party either through a negotiated settlement, or, if unsuccessful, by requesting government intervention. Investigation protocol. Upon determination that a prima facie case exists, the government may appoint a qualified individual to conduct a formal investigation into the circumstances. Financial responsibility determination. If the investigation concludes that excessive illness resulted from employer or property owner negligence or regulatory violations, they must reimburse all additional expenditures as determined by the investigation findings. Scheme for other beneficiaries. Extension of medical benefits. The central government is empowered to extend valuable ESI medical benefits to non-employees through strategically designed fee-based schemes that leverage existing healthcare infrastructure. Expanded medical coverage authority. The central government can establish comprehensive schemes that extend crucial medical facilities to individuals beyond those employees already insured under Section 28. Strategic utilization of healthcare resources. Medical services can be efficiently provided in underutilized ESI hospitals to non-employees through transparent fee structures and user charges, maximizing existing healthcare assets. Inclusive definition of eligible beneficiaries. Other beneficiaries encompasses all individuals who are not employees insured under Section 28, but can access ESI medical facilities through specially designed schemes. Broadening the healthcare safety net. Rigorous regulatory oversight. All charges collected from other beneficiaries for medical services will be systematically determined through official regulations, ensuring fairness and accessibility, while maintaining central government approval. Schemes for unorganized workers, gig workers, and platform workers. The government is authorized to establish specialized Social Security schemes for informal sector workers, creating regulatory frameworks that address their unique employment circumstances and extend benefits comparable to those in the formal sector. Government authority to create special schemes. the central government can formulate dedicated schemes for unorganized workers, gig workers, and platform workers, and their families that provide benefits equivalent to those under Chapter 4. Regulatory framework and parameters. Each scheme will clearly specify contribution requirements, user charges, benefit scales, eligibility criteria, qualifying conditions, and other essential terms for transparent implementation. Expansion of Social Security network. This provision extends Social Security coverage to workers in the informal economy who have historically been excluded from organized sector protection systems. Tailored approach for diverse workforce. The flexible scheme framework enables customization to address the specific challenges and circumstances of different categories of non-traditional workers. These provisions empower the government to create tailored Social Security programs for workers outside traditional employment structures. By establishing clear parameters for contributions, benefits, and eligibility, these schemes bring essential protections to delivery drivers, online freelancers, and other informal workers previously left vulnerable. This approach recognizes the changing nature of work while ensuring that all workers, regardless of employment classification, have access to appropriate Social Security benefits. Exemption of government establishments. Government establishments may be exempted from Chapter 4 provisions when employees already receive equivalent or superior benefits, subject to official authorization and compliance with specified conditions. Exemption authority. The government, upon consultation with the corporation, is empowered to exempt any government-owned or local authority-operated establishment from compliance with Chapter 4 provisions. Exemption criteria. Such exemption may be granted when employees of these establishments already receive benefits substantially similar to or more favorable than those provided under Chapter 4. Notification requirement. All exemptions must be formally notified through official channels and must adhere to prescribed conditions and requirements. Benefit protection. This provision ensures employee welfare remains protected while preventing benefit duplication across multiple government schemes. Priority of ESI contributions. ESI payments receive absolute priority over company assets, maintaining their critical importance even during financial distress, thereby safeguarding essential worker benefits. First charge on assets. All contributions required under Chapter 4 constitute the first claim on a company's assets, ensuring these obligations are fulfilled before addressing other financial liabilities. Protection during insolvency. ESI payments retain their priority status when a company undergoes insolvency proceedings, as explicitly reinforced in the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code of 2016. Preserving worker welfare. This priority mechanism ensures workers' health insurance and Social Security benefits remain protected even when employers face severe financial challenges. Streamlined recovery framework. This preferential status facilitates efficient collection of ESI contributions during corporate liquidation or restructuring processes resulting from financial difficulties. State governments establish specialized insurance courts to adjudicate ESI disputes. These courts are presided over by qualified judges with substantial legal experience who rule on all matters regarding coverage eligibility, contribution amounts, and benefit entitlements under the ESI Act. Employees Insurance Court. Establishment of courts. Appointing authority. State governments establish these specialized courts for designated jurisdictions. Judicial configuration. State governments determine the appropriate number of presiding officers based on caseload requirements. Jurisdictional scope. Courts may have jurisdiction over multiple regions, or multiple courts may operate within a single region, depending on administrative needs and case volume. Judicial qualifications. Eligibility criteria. Presiding officers must be either current or former judicial officials, or legal practitioners with a minimum of 5 years of professional experience. Court jurisdiction and authority. The insurance court holds exclusive jurisdiction over determination of employee status under Chapter 4 provisions, calculation of wages for benefit assessment purposes, determination of contribution obligations and amounts, identification of the principal employer in cases of ambiguity, adjudication of benefit eligibility, quantum, and duration, resolution of all disputes pertaining to ESI contributions and benefits. The Employees Insurance Court has exclusive jurisdiction over all ESI-related disputes. Employers contesting payment demands must deposit 50% of the disputed amount before their case can proceed, unless the court grants specific exemptions. Matters to be decided by Employees Insurance Court. Scope of disputes. The Employees Insurance Court holds exclusive jurisdiction over all disputes concerning employee classification and coverage eligibility, wage calculation for benefit determination, contribution amounts and collection procedures, identification of principal employer in ambiguous cases, entitlement to benefits, and their duration, recovery proceedings for outstanding payments, financial prerequisites for employers before initiating legal proceedings against the corporation regarding payment disputes, Employers must deposit 50% of the contested amount with the court as a prerequisite for case admission. Provisions for deposit exemption: the court possesses discretionary authority to reduce or waive the deposit requirement, provided it documents specific and substantial justification for granting such exemption in its official records. Exclusive jurisdiction: no civil court has the authority to adjudicate matters designated for the employee's insurance court or medical tribunals established under Chapter 4 of the Act, ensuring specialized handling of all EC-related legal matters. The employee's insurance court wields authority equivalent to a civil court, operates under state-established procedural frameworks, and issues fully enforceable legal orders. Powers of employees insurance court: civil court powers: the court exercises comprehensive powers equivalent to a civil court for summoning and examining witnesses under oath, demanding the production of documents and material evidence, administering sworn oaths to parties and witnesses, recording and preserving testimony and evidentiary material. Script: just like a regular court, the insurance court can summon individuals to testify, request essential documents, administer oaths of truthfulness, and maintain comprehensive records of all proceedings. Procedural rules and cost allocation: the court adheres to rigorous procedural guidelines established by the state government to ensure efficient and fair proceedings. All expenses associated with proceedings fall under the court's discretionary authority, guided by comprehensive regulations established by the state government. Script: the court follows structured rules set by the state government to ensure cases progress efficiently. The court also determines cost allocation during proceedings based on established government regulations. Enforcement authority: orders issued by the court carry full legal weight and are enforceable through the same mechanisms as decrees passed in standard civil court proceedings. Script: when the insurance court renders a decision, it carries identical authority to any other court order. This ensures mandatory compliance, just as with rulings from any standard judicial body. Proceedings of employees insurance court: the employees insurance court operates under specific procedural guidelines governing claim submission timeframes, representation options, and legal jurisdiction, with all proceedings conforming to government-mandated requirements. Initiation of court proceedings: the appropriate government establishes the filing procedures, applicable fees, and documentation requirements for case submission. Script: the government decides how you start a case in this court. They tell you what forms to fill out and how much you need to pay. Limitation period for filing claims: all proceedings must be instituted within 3 years from when the cause of action arose, with specific provisions applicable to different claim categories. Script: you have 3 years to file your claim after the problem happens. If you wait too long, you might lose your chance to get help. Legal representation options: parties may be represented by legal practitioners, authorized officers of registered trade unions, or other representatives permitted by the court. Script: you can't bring different people to help you in court. This can be a lawyer, someone from your workers' union, or another person the court allows. Referral of legal questions: the court possesses the authority to refer complex legal questions to the High Court and is obligated to adjudicate cases in accordance with the High Court's judgment. Script: if there's a tough legal question, this court can ask the High Court for help. Whatever the High Court says, this court must follow. Appeal to High Court: appeals to the High Court are strictly limited to questions of law for disputes exceeding $110,000, must be filed within 60 days, and require employers to deposit the full awarded amount when appealing compensation orders. Questions of law and minimum amount: appeals against employees' insurance court decisions may only be presented to the High Court when they involve substantial questions of law requiring judicial interpretation. The disputed amount must exceed 10,000 rupees, 110,000, except in specific cases concerning redemption of half-monthly payments. Situations prohibiting appeals: appeals are not permitted when parties have previously agreed in writing to abide by the court's decision as final. No appeal is allowed against orders that simply implement mutually agreed settlements between parties. Orders enforcing decisions already determined by the High Court on previously referred questions cannot be appealed. Deposit requirement for employers: employers challenging compensation orders must obtain a certificate from the court confirming they have deposited the entire awarded amount before their appeal can proceed. Time limit for filing: all appeals must be filed within 60 days from the date the court issues its order. The provisions of the Limitation Act 1963 govern the calculation of these appeal periods and potential extensions under exceptional circumstances. Payment of gratuity: gratuity is a monetary benefit paid to employees after completing 5 years of continuous service, 3 years for journalists. It equals 15 days' wages for each year served, with exemptions for death or disability cases, and modified calculations for specialized worker categories. Eligibility criteria: employees qualify for gratuity After completing 5 years of continuous service, reduced to 3 years for working journalists, gratuity becomes payable upon reaching superannuation age, voluntary retirement or resignation, death or disablement from accident or disease, completion of fixed-term employment contract, other officially notified circumstances. Exemption from 5-year service requirement. The 5-year continuous service requirement is waived when an employee dies, suffers permanent disablement, or completes a fixed-term employment contract. Standard gratuity calculation. Gratuity equals 15 days' wages for each completed year of service, or part exceeding 6 months. Calculation is based on the employee's last drawn wages or salary. Special calculation provisions for piece-rated workers. Daily wages are calculated by averaging earnings from the preceding 3 months for seasonal establishment employees. Gratuity equals 7 days' wages for each season worked for fixed-term employees and those who die during service. Gratuity is calculated on a pro rata basis. Maximum gratuity limit. The maximum gratuity amount is subject to monetary limits that the central government periodically revises and notifies. Summary. Gratuity serves as a loyalty reward that employers provide after extended service. Most employees must complete 5 years to qualify. 3 years for journalists. The benefit equals approximately 15 days of salary for each year worked. In cases of death or disability, employees or their families receive gratuity regardless of service duration. The government caps the maximum gratuity amount. Special workers like seasonal employees receive modified calculations. Typically 7 days' wages per season worked. Continuous service. For gratuity, continuous service encompasses both uninterrupted work periods and authorized absences. Different employment categories have specific minimum working day requirements to qualify for a complete service year. Definition of continuous service: uninterrupted employment periods, plus absences due to illness, accidents, authorized leave, unauthorized absence, layoffs, industrial disputes, strikes, or lockouts. Annual service calculation: for standard employment, a minimum of 240 working days constitutes a full year of service. For underground mine workers or establishments operating fewer than 6 days weekly, the requirement is 190 days. Qualifying absences: when calculating working days, periods of layoff, earned leave, maternity leave, up to 26 weeks, and disability due to employment-related injuries are included in the total count. Seasonal employment provisions: employees in seasonal establishments must work at least 75% of the days the establishment operated during the season to qualify for continuous service. Nomination for gratuity: employees must designate beneficiaries for their gratuity after completing 1 year of service. Specific regulations govern eligible nominees and the procedure for modifying nominations. Mandatory nomination after 1 year. Upon completing 1 year of service, every employee must submit a nomination form specifying their intended gratuity beneficiaries. Multiple beneficiary options: employees may distribute their gratuity among multiple nominees by specifying the proportion allocated to each beneficiary. Family member restriction: employees with families must exclusively nominate family members. Any nomination of non-family members will be deemed invalid in such cases. Nomination modifications: employees can alter their nominations by submitting a written notice to their employer. In the event of a nominee's death, the employee must promptly submit a fresh nomination. Determination of gratuity amount: the gratuity payment process encompasses application submission, employer calculation, timely disbursement within 30 days, and financial penalties for delayed payments. Application submission: eligible employees must complete and submit the designated form to their employer to initiate their gratuity payment request. Employer's assessment: the employer must calculate the gratuity amount and communicate this determination to both the employee and the appropriate government authority, regardless of whether a formal application was submitted. Payment timeframe: the employer is obligated to disburse the gratuity payment within 30 days from the date it becomes due. Penalty for late payment: should the employer fail to meet the payment deadline, they must pay additional interest at the government-prescribed rate, unless the delay was attributable to the employee, and the employer received official authorization for deferred payment. Insurance required for gratuity: employers must secure insurance coverage for gratuity obligations. They must fulfill registration requirements, may qualify for specific exemptions, and face significant penalties for non-compliance. Mandatory insurance coverage: all employers, with the exception of government establishments, must obtain insurance from an authorized insurer to cover their gratuity liability. Phased implementation: the government may establish different commencement dates for various categories of establishments. Exemption provisions: the government may exempt employers who maintain approved gratuity funds or establishments with more than 500 employees that establish such funds. Registration requirement: Employers must register with the appropriate authority after obtaining insurance or establishing approved gratuity funds. Administrative framework. The government holds the authority to designate trustees for approved gratuity funds and establish procedures for recovering gratuity from insurers or fund trustees. Non-compliance consequences. Employers who fail to pay insurance premiums or make required contributions must immediately remit the full gratuity amount to the designated authority. Competent authority for gratuity. The government appoints qualified officers as competent authorities to oversee gratuity implementation, define jurisdictional responsibilities, obtain expert assistance, and resolve payment disputes with binding authority. Appointment power. The government may designate any qualified officer as the competent authority to implement Chapter 5 provisions within specified geographical areas. Jurisdictional clarity. When multiple authorities are appointed for the same region, the government establishes clear guidelines defining their respective responsibilities and case allocation. Expert consultation. A competent authority may enlist experts with specialized knowledge to assist during investigations or formal inquiries. Definitive dispute resolution. The competent authority serves as the primary adjudicator for resolving disputes regarding gratuity eligibility, payment amounts, claim validity, and other related matters. Prohibited employment during certain periods. The law establishes mandatory rest periods for women following childbirth or pregnancy loss, restricts strenuous work during pregnancy, and creates clear protections for maternal health while balancing workplace responsibilities. Post-delivery employment ban. Employers are prohibited from knowingly employing a woman during the 6 weeks immediately following her delivery, miscarriage, or medical termination of pregnancy. Mandatory rest period. Women are legally required to refrain from working in any establishment during the 6 weeks immediately following delivery, miscarriage, or medical termination of pregnancy. Pregnancy work restrictions. During pregnancy, women cannot be assigned arduous tasks, work requiring extended periods of standing, or any duties likely to interfere with pregnancy or adversely affect maternal health. Protected period definition. The legally protected period includes 1 month before the 6-week pre-delivery period, plus any portion of the 6-week postpartum period for which the woman does not voluntarily take leave. Framework for both parties. This legislation creates a framework that safeguards maternal health while providing clarity for both parties. Employers must provide a mandatory 6-week recovery period after childbirth or pregnancy loss. Women are entitled to and required to take this 6-week recuperation period. Pregnant women are protected from physically demanding work that could jeopardize maternal or fetal health. Legal protections extend approximately 1 month pre-delivery and 6 weeks post-delivery. Purpose of provisions. These provisions recognize the physical demands of childbirth and pregnancy, ensuring adequate recovery time while establishing clear guidelines for workplace accommodations. Right to maternity benefit. Eligible women who have worked at least 80 days in the previous year receive maternity benefits equal to their average daily wage for up to 26 weeks. 12 weeks for those with 2 or more children. These benefits extend to adoption, surrogacy arrangements, and continue supporting the child if the mother passes away. Eligibility criteria. Women must complete at least 80 working days in the establishment during the 12 months immediately preceding their expected delivery date. To qualify for maternity benefits, a woman needs to have worked for at least 80 days in the year before her baby is due. Benefit calculation. Eligible women receive their average daily wage throughout their entire period of absence before and after delivery. The benefit equals the woman's normal daily earnings, paid for her entire leave period. Benefit duration. Benefits extend up to 26 weeks, with a maximum of 8 weeks before delivery. Women with 2 or more surviving children receive 12 weeks, maximum 6 weeks before delivery. First-time mothers can receive benefits for up to 26 weeks, about 6 months. Mothers with 2 or more children receive 12 weeks, about 3 months. Provisions upon death. If a woman passes away during her benefit period, payment continues until her date of death. If death occurs during or after delivery, but the child survives, benefits continue for the entire period. Benefits cease upon the child's death if both mother and child die. If the mother passes away, but her child survives, benefits continue for the full period to support the child. Adoption and surrogacy benefits. Women who legally adopt a child under 3 months of age, or commissioning mothers, in surrogacy arrangements receive 12 weeks of maternity benefits starting from the date they receive the child. Adoptive mothers and women who have children through surrogacy also receive 12 weeks of benefits, beginning when they welcome the child. Flexible working arrangements. After completing the maternity benefit period, women may work remotely if their job responsibilities allow. and their employer agrees to mutually acceptable terms. Following maternity leave, mothers may have the option to work from home if their position allows remote work, and their employer agrees.